Greetings, nerdlings, and welcome to Amalgam Nation Presents World of Warcraft Racecraft Faceless One Edition. During Arthas and Anubarak's desperate flight towards Icecrown to defend the Lich King from Illidan and his army, they were forced to cross through the mostly underground Nerubian kingdom of Azjol Nerub. There they encountered still living Nerubian freedom fighters and dwarves left over from Arthas' last trip to Northrend. But as they delved deeper into the ruins, they also encountered horrors, as the dwarf leader Belgun called them, released from Illidan's recently caused earthquakes, strange, vaguely humanoid beings that had arisen, and the giant tentacles of one massive creature. As they fought their way through, they soon encountered the monster who Anubarak called a Forgotten One. The Crypt Lord Anubarak seemed stunned that such a creature actually existed, saying he thought they were only a myth. He then told Arthas to fight as you've never fought before. The undead barely managed to defeat the creature, but as more faceless ones appeared and the cavern began to collapse, they were forced to press on. Eventually they made it out of Azjol Nerub and did battle with Illidan, but not until after surviving the Great Peril. In the quest, the Faceless Ones and Proof of Demise, Herald Volage, Clix the Unraveler, and Archmage Landaloch say that as the Nerubians fought the Scourge, they dug deeper underground as they lost ground to the undead. We inadvertently exposed the tendril of the old god's will, which was made manifest in the creatures known only as the Faceless. He then goes on to say that they lost the war because, in the end, we could not fight on two fronts against such powerful enemies. Our misfortune cost us the war against the undead and ultimately our home, implying that the Nerubians discovered the Faceless Ones by accident. Interestingly, Faceless Ones and Forgotten Ones look similar. Multiple Faceless Ones appear, including Herald Volage, the leader of the Old God's forces, and Darkspeaker Reckham. Faceless Ones are also encountered underneath Icecrown Citadel in a place called Nazanak, the Forgotten Depths. Killing the faceless lurkers there is required for the quest Time to Hide. Much like gnolls and ogres, Faceless Ones have a battle cry, Shurnab, Shurnab, Yogg Saron. It would appear, therefore, that the darkest fears about the Faceless Ones are true. In Ulduar, Faceless Ones are led by General Vezax, guarding the twisted passageways leading to the prison of Yogg Saron. World of Warcraft Cataclysm brought new Faceless Ones within the abyssal depths of Vaz'jir and the Abyssal Maw Instance Hub. They seem to be allied with the Naga and fight against Neptulon. The Faceless Ones can also be seen in many places around Vaz'jir, especially Faceless Overseers around Logorek. The Faceless of the Deep appears as leader of the Naga at the ruins of Vash'Jalan on the Lost Isles. Faceless One's appearance. Faceless Ones are vaguely humanoid creatures who, as the name implies, have no discernible faces insofar as other races recognize them. One arm is much larger than the other, grotesque and misshapen, while the other is little more than a prehensile tentacle. Faceless generals are massive faceless with a hardened shell. They seem to be the leaders of the Faceless Ones. Some of their aquatic features may be a recent adaptation to eons underwater, as remains of older massive faceless lack these features. Faceless Ones, speculation and inspiration. Anubarak's experience suggests that the Faceless represent a forgotten race that was buried aeons ago within the deeps of the world, of whom only myths ever reached the Nerubian people. As it is now known that the Nerubians are descended from the ancient Akir, the notion of a species that appears to predate both the Akir and the Night Elves raises many questions. The curse of flesh instigated by the old gods was intended to make the nascent races susceptible to assimilation. It is therefore entirely possible that the Faceless Ones were the unfortunates among Azeroth's first mortal beings who were successfully assimilated during the dawning of the world. If this is true, it means that Faceless are ancient beyond reckoning. Hakkar the Soulflayer is referred to as the Faceless Blood God by Primal Thorntusk in the Hinterlands, and as the Faceless One by Moltar at Yojamba Isle. One piece of loot that Hakkar drops is the Fang of the Faceless. It is not known if this description of Hakkar indicates a connection to the Faceless Ones that Arthas encountered, or if it is simply a title. The Faceless One mobs in the Old Kingdom are actually called Forgotten Ones, which may suggest that the term Forgotten One in fact refers to a faction of some sort. Clix the Unraveler, a Nerubian supplying quests related to Asdrol Nerub, speaks of the monsters as being in some way connected to the old gods. In my people's struggle against the forces of the undead, they dug deeper as they lost ground. In desperation, they dug too deep. We inadvertently exposed the tendril of the old god's will, which was made manifest in the creatures known only as the Faceless. There are many ways to interpret this statement, among them that in breaking free part of the old god, the Nerubians released his slaves. One could also argue that the old god manifested the creatures out of himself as creations or extensions of himself. The Forgotten One in Warcraft 3 did seem to have similar powers of creation. This might explain why the Faceless Ones are actually called Forgotten Ones in World of Warcraft. Then again, Clix could have just been speaking metaphorically, as he goes on to refer to them as separate insane creatures only belonging to the old gods. It is possible that Blizzard based the Faceless Ones loosely on the Illithids from the Forgotten Realms books and the Dungeons and Dragons games. Both races have an affinity with magic and telepathy, and both are evil races. Also, Illithids and Faceless Ones both have been described as slimy humanoids with almost octopus-like heads, and both races live traditionally underground and are feared by most land dwellers. It is likely that both creatures are based on H.P. Lovecraft's Cthulhu mythos, which includes ancient tentacled creatures that worship a god called Yog-Sothoth. Thank you for listening, and as always remember, play the game and game to play.